This was the strategic bomber that China could have easily obtained back then. And it was the closest we've ever been to having a supersonic strategic bomber, the Champion O. Flight speed at 2.3 Mach. The top among global bombers if we had it. Not even the B-1 Lancer and the Tu-160 Blackjack would be able to see our tail-light as it is the Tu-22M3. A supersonic bomber, it can perform both strategic nuclear bombing and tactical bombing missions, and can also carry out anti-ship and anti-aircraft carrier tasks. It's hard to imagine that a product born 55 years ago is equipped with two of the strongest military engines on the surface. Even the US would salivate over it. So, what's so magical about it? Here is the Kuban Ka Air Base in Russia through the lens of the photographer. We'll have a 5K high-definition view of the entire process of the Russian Tu-22M3 air bomber from startup to takeoff. We can see that, half hidden by the tree branches. The ground crew is conducting a basic inspection on this large aircraft. The upward opening swing wing doors showcase the unique shape of this large aircraft. Its cockpit is in two sections, front and back. When the crew members board the plane, they must enter the cockpit through a large escalator after a sloppy basic inspection. The engine of the aircraft has been started and is warming up. The ground crew rolls up the communication lines used for the inspection and casually stuffs them under the engine compartment. We can see that the intake of the Tu-22M3 is extremely expensive and very thick, almost equivalent to the height of two adults. After stuffing the communication lines, the ground crew closes the inspection compartment and then leaves the scene with the boarding ladder. The aircraft is about to enter the takeoff procedure. We can see the pilot gently push the throttle lever, release the handbrake, and slowly taxi the aircraft towards the takeoff point. At this moment, its frontal full view is also revealed. The Tu-22M3 was developed by the TUPOV Design Bureau. The prototype made its first flight in 1969, adopting a variable sweep wing design. A total of 500 were produced, and hundreds of them are still in service in Russia. There are a total of 4 crew members: the pilot, the co-pilot, the weapons operator, and the navigator. They sit in pairs in the cockpit. Just after taxiing a few steps, this large aircraft is stopped. It turns out that the ground crew leader, not reassured, needs to visually inspect this antique again. We can see a person who looks like a leader with excessive weight trotting all the way to the underside of the fuselage here. Take a look. He seems to be inspecting the aircraft very carefully, working under such strong sunlight. The inspection personnel urgently need a pair of sunglasses to protect their eyes in this hot summer. Everyone must pay attention to sun protection now. The Taobao platform has subsidies and big brand flash sales. Click the link on the lower left to open Taobao and search. It's so great for shopping. There are so many brand quality goods starting from 0.99 yuan, and they offer free shipping nationwide. Hurry up and check it out. After focusing on inspecting the landing gear, wings, and the nose position, the chubby leader quickly runs to the side and waves to signal the pilot that they can continue the takeoff. Then, the Tu-22M3 continues to taxi towards the takeoff point. Its side full view is also revealed. Its fuselage is 42 meters long. The wingspan is 34 meters. The height is 11 meters. The maximum takeoff weight is 125 tons. And the maximum flight speed is 2.3 Mach, which is 2,800 kilometers per hour. It's even faster than most fighter jets. It's equivalent to flying from Beijing to Guangzhou in less than 40 minutes. Its maximum payload is 24 tons and the maximum range is 12,000 kilometers. It is a proper supersonic long-range strategic bomber. A few minutes later, the Tu-22M3 arrives at the takeoff point. The huge tail nozzles of the engines continuously emit waves of heat, distorting the air on the runway. These are two Mk-3213 afterburning turbofan engines developed by the Kuznetsov Design Bureau. The single engine is more than 6 meters in length, weighs 3.4 tons, and has a diameter of 1. Point for 6 meters. An adult can even bend over and crawl into it. The thrust after burning is 25 tons. And the two engines can generate a strong power of 50 tons. This engine looks big and clumsy, filled with the violent aesthetics of the Soviet style. It was originally developed for the Tu-160 Blackjack. It's even more powerful than the engine of the US F-22 Raptor and can be regarded as the strongest military engine on the surface, but when installed on the Tu-22M3, it gives the aircraft a greater boost. And it is more fuel efficient than the old model. This also gives the Tu-22M3 a longer range and a larger payload after a long wait. The control tower finally issues the takeoff order. The pilot also starts to ignite the afterburner combustion chamber. We can faintly see a small yellow flame inside the tail nozzle of the Tu-22M3 after a few seconds. The small yellow flame gradually turns into a blue flame. The afterburner combustion chamber is successfully ignited. Then the pilot releases the handbrake and drives the Tu-22M3 to launch like a spring. It starts to accelerate and taxi on the runway. The two engines with blue flames continuously output power. Let's fully experience this thrilling moment. After taxiing for approximately 1,900 meters, the pilot lifts the control stick and drives the aircraft to leave the ground and start to climb. Let's put other things aside. The power of these two engines is truly strong as the bomber continues to climb. The landing gear of the Tu-22M3 is slowly retracted into the fuselage. After a few seconds, the aircraft flies over the head of the photographer and continues to climb. The engine tail nozzles also start to emit a large amount of yellow smoke. It seems that due to incomplete combustion, the emissions are a bit excessive. Several tens of seconds later, this bomber disappears into the distance.